The next thing we need to do is work on our description key sets. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about what description key sets are and try to understand them a little bit. Description keys bridge the gap between the field and the office. Description key sets are a listing of field descriptions and how they should look and behave once they are imported into Civil 3D. They are used to automate the process of organizing your points, assigning them to layers, assigning point and label styles, converting raw descriptions to full descriptions, and optionally scaling your points. Description key sets are different from figure prefix database and line work code sets. The figure prefix databases and line work code sets are external files, where description key sets are part of your Civil 3D template file. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to examine our survey file, and I have it open here somewhere. So we need to first kind of understand what we're looking at in our survey file. So just looking at this first row here, we have our first set of numbers, and we can kind of understand the logic of this first set of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have quite a few of them here actually. So I'm going to make this file just a little bit bigger. We have a total of 76 of these, and this first row, this first column here, this first set of numbers is corresponding to the point number. So that's kind of important to remember that that is the point number. The second set of numbers is referring to the Easting value. Now, how do I know that this is the Easting value? I know this is the Easting value because the surveyor told me that this is the Easting value. The other way that I can find out is I can either open ArcGIS or Google Earth and do a little bit of mathematical calculation and figure out that this 31.5 number is corresponding to an Easting value or an X value. So this is kind of our Easting value here. Then we have another set of numbers right next to it, and this set of numbers here is referring to the northing value. So this is the north-south direction. So this would be kind of like the Y direction if we're looking at a coordinate system. So this is the northing value. And then the last set of numbers, well, they're not really the last set of numbers, but the numbers right next to this set of numbers is referring to the elevation, which we sometimes call the Z value. So I'm just going to call this Z, and I'm just going to write elevation here. I'm not very good at drawing with a trackball, just so that you're warned. So this is the Z elevation value. And then the very last set of numbers on the end here, they're not really numbers, it's more like text, and it's a description. It is exactly what I just said. This is the description. So I'm just write D for description. Alright, so looking at everything again, our first set of numbers, and I'm just going to highlight this purple. This is referring to the points. So I'm going to write P. Can't really see it well with that color. Let me pick a different color here. So this value right here is referring to P. The second one is E, or Easting, which is the X direction. The next one is Northing, or the Y direction. And then we have Z for the elevation and D for the description. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm just going to sketch out an Euclidean coordinate system, or something that would occur in Euclidean space. So the first thing I'm going to draw is the X value. So I'm just going to draw it over here to the right side. So this is our X axis. So I'm going to call this X. Or we can call this our Easting. Either way we want to see this. Call this East. X for East. And then I'm going to draw out my Y direction, and that is going to be my northing. So that goes this way. So we're going to have to visualize that this is occurring in 3D space. So this is my north. So basically this is kind of like a plan, and we're kind of laying it down flat. So actually I have this backwards if I want to be consistent with my easting label here. So actually this is Y, and I'm calling this my north. Try to draw an O here, a series of straight lines. Just use your imagination here. So this is north. And then we have our z-axis, or our elevation. So I'm going to draw that one in blue. And that goes this way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to mark our coordinate system here. So our easting value, which is here, the first one is 31.561.62600. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to abbreviate that. So I'm going to draw an X here. So this is our X value. This is going to be our 31, and I'm just going to do dot, 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 dot to include the rest of those long numbers. Put a comma here, 0, comma, 0. So this is our X coordinate. And then over here, somewhere along this line, is going to occur our Y coordinate, which is at 17,15790. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to abbreviate again. I'm going to call this 17. Actually, it starts with a 0, and then comma, 17, dot, 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 dot to include the rest of those long numbers, comma, 0. And I'm going to put this in brackets to indicate that point. And then we have our elevation value, which is up here somewhere. So maybe it's about here, taking a guess. And our elevation value, so this coordinate is going to look something like this. It's going to be 0, comma, 0, comma, now it's 1032. So I'm just going to abbreviate this again, 1032. And I'm going to do the dot, dot, dot thing to indicate that there's more numbers there, and put a bracket around it. So this is 0, 0, 1032, which is the Y value. This point over here is 0, the Y value, 0. And the X one is the X value, which is at 31, 0, 0. And up here, I think I said this one wrong. This is actually Z value, so 0, 0, and then the Z value, which is at 1032. So now if we want to find where 31, 17, 1032 is in space, we would have to do a little bit more sketching here. So first I'm going to work in the XY plane. So I'm actually going to try to draw a line. I'm going to see how this comes out. So I'm going to draw kind of an isometric cube here. So in the XY plane, this point here would be 31, 17. And now I need to include the Z value, so I'm going to do a little bit more sketching to figure out where that occurs at. Draw a line here. Probably need a line that goes up to there. Basically, we're drawing a cube. Find the location. So it looks like this point right here so I'm going to bold this in, is our 31, 17, 1032. So I'll just write that in there. I'm going to abbreviate again since we don't have room. So this is our 31 ... comma 17 ... comma, and then our 1032. So this is kind of an important concept to understand, because when we go to import this point file later, we'll need to understand that this is what's going on here. So we're starting out first with our point number, and we have our easting, we have our northing, we have our Z elevation, and we have some description. So since we use this very first set of numbers, this little spot here is actually a lamp post. I'm going to draw a little lamp post. This is some lamp post on the terrain. It's kind of a very diagrammatic lamp post.